folks, welcome to our contrarian analysis of Boeing stock, symbol BA. What we're going to be discussing in this video is their past earnings report. They reported earnings on April the 26th. Then we're going to be talking about the valuation of the company. Is it cheap? Is it expensive? And we're going to segue over into the technical analysis, the review of the chart on multi-level time frames. What does that mean? What that means is that we're going to be taking a look at Boeing from a higher level view, monthly chart, drilling down to a weekly chart, and then down to a daily chart. And that gives us a really good feel of where the stock has been and as to whether or not Boeing's share price is setting up for a liftoff, pun intended. So before we begin, I'm going to ask you to please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment below. And stick around to the very end of the video, and I'm going to give you my synopsis of as to whether or not I believe that Boeing is a buy, sell, or hold. And if I'm going to buy, when am I going to buy it? And why am I going to buy it? Let's get to it. So Boeing's most recent earnings report was April the 26th of 2023. And I have a couple of highlighted passages here, and we can go through this pretty quickly. Analysts polled by FactSet expected Boeing to post a net loss of $1.07 per share for the first quarter versus a loss of the prior year of $2.75. Revenue was seen growing 25% to $17.516 billion. So let's segment this out. First, let's talk about EPS loss. And the loss was significantly below what it was the year over year. That is an extremely bullish metric for the company. And then when you take a look at the fact that the company is growing revenues at 25%, that is huge. This is a company that has a market capitalization of $124 billion. And to grow revenues by 25% is extremely encouraging. And if they can expand their margins, they could see profitability pretty quickly. Now, their losses came in below views. Revenue jumped a better than expected 28% to $17.9 billion. Now, negative free cash flow narrowed. That's a very good thing, to $786 million versus a year ago outflow of $3.57 billion. So in short, they lost $786 million on the quarter versus $3.57 billion during the same quarter a year ago. So that's an amazing improvement year over year. Now, the outlook for Boeing, Wall Street expects Boeing to lose 62 cents per share for the full year versus a loss of $11.06 for 2022. Obviously, this is a company that is on the mend. Now, there's always, with any company, there's always a problem, and the 737 product is once again in the headlines due to a fuselage issue. Does that impact their EPS in some form or fashion? In all probability, yes. But I think what they've done here by talking about it is that they have prepped the street for any type of negative impact on their earnings going into the Q2 report. Now, continuing on with Boeing and their metrics as reported by Investors Business Daily. Investors Business Daily gives them a composite rating of 85, respectable. The shares are under accumulation with a B negative. The group strength gets an A. Its relative strength. Now, this is the relative strength relative to the S&P 500 is 93. That's a very good score. Now, you can see here the next earnings date is July the 26th. And in terms of valuation or their PE ratio, there is no PE. They are losing money. So how might we better measure how expensive the share price is since we don't have a PE ratio to benchmark it against? Well, what we could do is this. We could take a look at Boeing's price to sales ratio. And this data goes back to 12/20 of 2022. And you can see on average, we're at about 1.8. And that's exactly where we closed this past Friday, a 1.8 on their price to sales. So using the price to sales ratio as our historical benchmark for how expensive this stock is, it's fairly valued on a historical basis. Now, to see whether or not that is reasonable relative to its peers, well, I just pulled up Lockheed Martin, symbol LMT, their price to sales as well. And you can see, where did they close on Friday? 1.8. Exactly the same price to sales metric that Boeing is priced at. So we know now that Boeing is priced fairly on a historical basis when benchmarked against its own price to sales, and it's also priced fairly when benchmarked against a major competitor. Now, folks, before we go into the technical analysis of TrendSpider and we begin to talk about as to whether or not the shares are a buy, sell, or hold, I want to talk to you about our sponsor. There's a lot of conversation out there in this day and age about artificial intelligence. And one way to incorporate artificial intelligence into your trading software is by using TrendSpider. TrendSpider is the next level in charting software. Whether it be their strategy development tools, scanning, charting, and analysis tools, or trade timing tools, there's something in this product for everyone. And you can also now incorporate TrendSpider into your brokerage platform for automated order execution. You can track unusual options flow, auto detect chart patterns, find new trading ideas with their scanners, and much, much more. So take a moment and head on over using the link below, and you can see that at current, they're giving up to a 25% discount for the weekend. If you use my link below and my discount code CON35, you get a 35% discount on TrendSpider. So please head on over, take advantage of it. I use it, I utilize it every single day, and they have an awesome mobile application, 7-day free trial offer. Please check it out, link below. So now to the technical analysis of Boeing. Is it a buy, sell, or hold? Well, looking at the monthly chart, here at the Contrarian Trader, we always begin our analysis of a stock not by looking at a daily chart or a 15-minute chart. We always go with a monthly chart, because what we want to know is the stock in a long-term downtrend? Is it consolidating, or is it in a long-term uptrend? So once we answer that question, we can be a little bit more constructive on the shorter duration time frames, the weekly and daily chart. So looking at the monthly chart here of Boeing, immediately what I pick up is that you could see that we have been pretty much range bound for the past couple of years. But something has changed. Something has changed. And I want you to take note of this green line here. This is the automated trend line. I did not draw this. This is the algorithm that draws this for you. And if I take it off and I put it back on, you'll appreciate the fact that what was support here broke back in April of 2022. We then consolidated, attempted to rally through resistance, failed, rejection. And then something changed here in November of 2022. We broke out. And what makes this breakout all the more significant is that we broke out up and through a quarterly resistance level. And you may be saying, wait a minute, you're looking at a monthly chart. How do you know that we broke through quarterly resistance? Simple. The functionality here, quarterly chart, I click this button here, overlay, and dashed line reflects quarterly resistance, now acting as support for Boeing. This is a significant event. Now, when making a determination of as to whether a stock is a buy, sell, or a hold, we always want to adopt a rules-based approach. And that rules-based approach is simple. If this, then that. What do I mean by that? I'm going to click this button here. I'm going to overlay my own personal drawings. Click, and there you have it. Immediately above, you have 219.57, the closing price action. This last trading day was 206.78. So what this chart is telling me right now is that Boeing is becoming very constructive as a long opportunity. And we're going to come back to this chart when I give you the final determination of as to whether or not the shares are a buy, sell, or hold. But let's do a deeper dive now, drilling down to a weekly view. And on a weekly time frame, again, much as what we've seen with the monthly chart, We've been in a sideways consolidation, but something a little bit different here, a little bit more defined. What is that? It's this. We're putting in higher lows on the weekly chart. Now, the shares are still struggling somewhat to break through this resistance level, as noted by the red circle, which is an indication that Boeing did try to break through resistance last week, yet it was rejected. Now, that doesn't mean that you ignore it and walk away from it. It just means that there's not enough confidence in the shares as of yet to warrant a measurable position in your portfolio. But that doesn't mean that you don't nibble or scratch the itch, as I like to put it, now. But let's continue to validate. So, daily chart now, and what you're seeing again, as measured by, we'll take my drawings off, we'll simply go with the algorithm, and we're going to actually put my drawing back on in a moment. But I'm going to take my drawings off here, and you can see that this lower band in green here, again, this is the AI working for you. This price keeps bouncing off of this rising floor. That is very bullish. And now what you see above in red here is the upper band of now a rising uptrend channel on Boeing. This past Friday, we managed to close above the 9-period moving average. Volume was a bit light. Now I'm going to bring my drawings back up here. And you can see that the shares are in a, what I like to call a expanding uptrend channel. So I believe that these shares are under accumulation. And if you take a look at the stochastics are beginning to hook up on a daily time frame. Now, do I believe, going back to the monthly chart, do I believe that the shares are a buy? Yes, but they shouldn't be an overweight buy. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you have room for an industrial in your portfolio right now, and Boeing is a candidate to be that industrial, well, it's not quite ready for prime time yet because it's still in a consolidation range, longer term. It hasn't broken out yet, but honestly, I don't see a reason in the world not to put on a small position on Boeing. And then as it begins to break out and above, and when the shares ultimately are able to break through 219.57, well then I would be an aggressive buyer of Boeing shares. The only caveat there is I would not do it in front of an earnings report because that is what you call a binary event. And a binary event is a very dangerous point in time to open up a new position on a stock, unless, of course, you're hedged on the position. So here's our alert. It's set for a breakout above 219.57. Alert name, Boeing monthly breakout. Note to self, aggressive buy. So again, in closing, I think that you can nibble on these shares. Get in on the ground floor, scratch the itch, as I like to say. But if your intention is to purchase, let's say 100 shares of Boeing stock, right now you should only be purchasing about 20 shares. Then as the shares break out and become worthy of your investment dollar, then you put more capital to work because what the share price is doing is that it's validating your thesis that Boeing shares were consolidating. Ultimately, you were waiting for 219.57 to break out. Once it does break out, you're going to begin to see algorithms begin to bid the shares up very aggressively. That's why I advocate putting a small position on now, buying the breakout on Boeing. Just be careful of earnings coming out on July the 26th. Be a little bit cautious in advance of that report. Folks, thank you so much for being here. If you could like, subscribe to the channel, I truly appreciate it. Leave a comment below. If you disagree with me or if you agree with me, I'll certainly get back to you. And don't forget, take advantage of that 35% discount code to TrendSpider with their 7-day free trial offer. No trader should be without the functionality that TrendSpider provides you. So put that extra arrow in your quiver. Take advantage of TrendSpider, and everyone have an amazing and profitable week. Be well.